US President Donald Trump says he is, quote, not happy with Iran and that more talks are expected on Friday. Trump has been pushing Tehran to agree to his terms for a nuclear deal threatening military action if it refuses. The US has been building up forces in the region for a potential strike on Iran, and more countries are telling their citizens to leave the region. Iran denies seeking nuclear weapons and maintains it has the right to enrich uranium for other purposes. Now let's dive a little deeper and get Sina Azodi's take on this. He is the Program Director for Middle East Studies at the George Washington University. Now, with no major breakthrough in the last round of talks, do you think a US attack on Iran has become more likely now?
It is likely. We are seeing some indications that at least some European countries and Israelis are concerned about the possibility of a strike. The British embassy evacuated its staff. There are other countries that are asking their citizens not to travel to Iran. And we also saw that the U.S. ambassador to Israel had asked the American staff at the embassy if they want to leave. So there are some indications. But we also heard from the last round of negotiations that some of the gaps between the two countries have been bridged. There are major differences between the two. So we really don't know. And the fact that they agreed to meet again, I think is a good sign. But with President Trump, anything is possible. He may not be satisfied with how fast they are going, so he may just decide to strike.
Now, the British embassy has withdrawn its staff from Tehran. The US ambassador to Israel is also allowing all non-emergency staff to leave the region. Are those mere security measures, signs of increased nervousness, or indeed part of the posturing?
I think it could be both. It could be that they have some indications that a strike might be imminent, and that's why they're taking the precautionary steps to evacuate their staff. It could also be part of posturing to send false signals to Iranians that they have to back down or strikes could come. So we really don't know.
Now, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is planning to travel to Israel next week. What could come out of that trip?
I would say sharing latest intelligence with Israel. If Israelis have intelligence that they would share with the Americans, I would also expect Secretary Rubio to update the Israelis with the latest developments in negotiations between Iranians and the Americans. So these are the things that I expect the Secretary Rubio to discuss with the Israelis.
Now, Donald Trump has now said that both sides will meet again this Friday for more talks. What can we read into that?
Well, I think that President Trump was sold the false narrative that Iranians are so weak and desperate for a deal that they quickly capitulate to the American demands. But as we've seen that, 3 rounds of talks and Iranians have not given up on the principle of enrichment. But as I pointed out a few minutes ago, some of the gaps have been bridged between the two countries. This does not mean that we have a deal until the issue of the principle of enrichment in Iran is resolved and we have a compromise over that.
Now, if we look at the situation inside Iran at the moment, at the protest movement, should the US decide to attack Iran, what effect would that have on the democracy movement inside Iran?
I think it's an illusion to think that aerial campaigns will bring democracy. Once the bombs start falling, people start taking shelters. They will not come to the streets to try to remove the regime. And when we look at the history of air campaigns, they're not an effective tool of regime change. We saw what happened in Vietnam. We saw what happened in Japan. We saw what happened in Serbia. So airstrikes are not conducive to democracy or regime change. From my perspective, the US's attempt is to further weaken the Iranian regime. But I don't think that that would lead Iranian people to go back to the streets and try to bring down the Islamic Republic.
And lastly, what role do you think Reza Pahlavi will play in all this?
He has his own constituency. Some of the Iranian youth do support him. But the fact of the matter is that he's a divisive figure. Some of his associates have some of the actions and behavior of his associates are not helping him to improve his image in Iran. So I think that, yes, he does have his support in the country and among some of the Iranian diaspora, but I don't believe that ultimately he will be able to regain the Persian crown.
Thank you very much. Sina Azodi, Program Director for Middle East Studies at the George Washington University. Thank you.
Thank you.